Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
The Foreign Affairs Minister weighs in on the unrest in Haiti.
A family relives the hellish experience of having their 3-year-old kidnapped in broad daylight.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. 73 people made redundant today at Commonwealth Brewery. This as the company undergoes a restructuring exercise which saw an entire level of management taken out. Today we spoke with the company's retail director, who explained that the decision was tough, but one that had to be made.
We had a situation where managers were reporting to managers. Right.
The week got off to a rough start for 53 employees of Commonwealth Brewery here in New Providence and 20 on Grand Bahama after they were called into a meeting and informed that the role they played in the company was no longer needed.
In the papers we put it out last week, we were going to have a staff meeting today, and we met with staff at a off-site location, and we would have explained the circumstances surrounding this restructuring exercise and the fact that they are in the stores. It might have been known to them that in the back office, we've been doing restructuring now for I'd say a number of years now.
According to the company's retail director, Ron Hepburn, the 73 employees were all a part of middle management. The company has a staff complement of just over 400. But Hepburn said despite the unfortunate fact that they're now out of a job, there is a silver lining. New line staff positions have been created.
In our context, we call them store reps and assistant store reps. So we paid them out in accordance with the Employment Act and then some. And then we invited them to apply for these new roles, which they can freely do. So they got paid essentially on Friday. They got a severance check today, and they can apply for a job and be hired this week.
Commonwealth Brewery is the retail seller of some of your favorite brands, from Heineken to Vitamalt to Guinness and, of course, Kalik. As a result of the redundancies, the company had only 6 stores open in Nassau on Monday, with an expectation that things will go back to normal Tuesday morning. Now we understand grief counselors were present at the meeting when news broke, as well as the National Insurance Board to assist with unemployment benefits.
Again, I spoke to almost all of them personally. It wasn't a cloak and dagger sort of situation. Sat, we talked, and most of them freely applied for these new rules once they got their severance check.
Now Hepburn says he knows there will be critics of the company's decision to get rid of 73 at one time, but here's how he chose to respond.
The top line can only grow so much, but if your fixed cost is growing faster than your top line, you're losing money, right? But at the same time, we want to remain steadfast and resolute to the fact that we will treat every staff member that's impacted with dignity and respect.
In other news, one family got quite the scare this weekend after witnessing the kidnapping of a 3-year-old boy. Today, the child's outraged relatives are reliving their nightmarish experience. With more on this, here's Giorgio Bain.
According to his grandmother, the 3-year-old was riding his bicycle on the street just behind me while his father cleaned the neighbors' cars. That's when the family's worst nightmare happened. A car pulled up, grabbed the little boy, and drove off. His older brother, Shavar, tried his best to save his little brother, but said he wasn't strong enough.
I was feeling bad because I tried grab him and pull him like this, but the woman gone yuck him out of my hands. Then she just put him in the passenger seat, speed off.
What did you do after that?
Cry.
Shavar's mother, Dwynera Thurston, said the entire experience was a complete hell. She went from the mother whose son had been kidnapped to the #1 suspect in a matter of hours.
I was horrified because automatically every bad thought just jumped in my head that what could have happened to him, but I'm grateful that it didn't happen to him.
Thurston said the officers kicked down her door after 2 a.m. while she was trying to comfort her other 4 children who had been inconsolable since witnessing their brother's kidnapping, arresting both her and the father of her children. She says they were emotionally shaken.
See, you come here at 2 o'clock in the morning and lock me up. They locked me up from 2 o'clock in the morning to about 7 something in the morning. They locked my baby daddy up from 8 o'clock in the night. That night our son went missing. till about 3 o'clock the next morning. After that, I find my son 7 o'clock in the morning. They brutally and emotionally and physically beat my baby daddy. They emotionally scarred me, but they didn't hit me.
Thurston said the male officers didn't even allow her to get properly dressed before ushering her into a patrol car in the early morning hours. She said once in custody, she told officers everything she knew, including the address of a person she had received threats from. So what exactly happened to young Shavar in the hours after his kidnapping?
The lady, when she grabbed him and he was in the car, she said that she whopped him with the slippers across the leg, telling him to go sleep. He said the lady tell him to go sleep 2 times. He said when he wake up, he said the lady buy him McDonald's. And he said that he passed this house. He said he passed our house saying he wanted to go to this woman to study.
The family is confident that without social media, they would not have gotten young Shavar back as quickly as they did. Despite the information making its rounds on social media early on Saturday, officers did not make the information public until after 1 a.m. on Sunday morning. Shavar was dropped off to a wash house in the Fox Hill area at 7 Sunday morning. Relatives say comments made by the Minister of National Security Marvin Dames only made the situation worse when he referred to the kidnapping as a part of a domestic dispute in today's Tribune. His mother and aunt are demanding an apology.
I will also like for Minister Marvin Dames to do a public apology to the family, to put a statement in the Tribune stating that this is a domestic dispute, which it isn't. It's not a domestic dispute. We even don't know who these persons are.
I really need an apology. I need an apology. My family need an apology because the way he have people thinking about my family, it is not right. We don't deal with violence in our family.
Despite everything he went through, Shavar was still seen smiling and playing. The family is seeking the public's help in getting proper counseling for Shavar and his siblings. Reporting for our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Thanks, Giorgio. Well, in the wake of the Minnis administration's decision to temporarily halt the repatriation of Haitian nationals amid violent unrest in Haiti, Foreign Affairs Minister Darren Henfield is insisting the government will resume those repatriations as soon as possible. Here's Jasmine Brown.
The government of the Bahamas, the priority for us is to resume repatriations as soon as possible. And so as soon as we can establish with the Haitian government and with our people when it's time for them to return, we're watching the situation on the ground moment by moment, and as soon as we can establish it's okay for our people to return, and even outside of their return, I've instructed currently now that we look at ways and means that we can resume repatriation as soon as possible.
The Foreign Affairs Minister's comments came days after the Office of the Prime Minister issued a press release announcing a decision to halt repatriations. Violent protests have raged in Haiti since February 7th, with protesters calling for the resignation of President Jovenel Moïse over corruption allegations and skyrocketing inflation. Hours after that announcement on Saturday, authorities intercepted a Haitian sloop with 64 migrants on board west of Compass Key in the Exuma chain, bringing the number of migrants in the detention center to nearly 180.
We have established a temporary detention center in Matthewtown and Agua, which will be replete with all of the necessary ministries and agencies to cause that center to function. We are hoping that we do not see an extraordinary increase in migration from Haiti, but with the level of unrest.
In addition to establishing that temporary detention center in Inagua, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has also announced the temporary closure of the Bahamas Embassy in Port-au-Prince and the recall of all diplomatic and consular staff. The Foreign Affairs Minister says not only has the unrest temporarily halted repatriations, it has also slowed down diplomatic talks. During a visit to Haiti early last year, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis and the Haitian president agreed to undertake joint initiatives that could contribute to reducing migration to the Bahamas.
Since then, there have been periods of sporadic unrest, which has caused our discussions not to go the distance that we would have liked to have seen by now.
The latest unrest in Haiti comes just months after riots broke out on July 6, 2018, over the announcement of a plan to end fuel subsidies, which could have driven the price up by 50%. Henfield stressed that the government of the Bahamas still fully supports the Moïse administration. Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
4 men were brought before a magistrate today on separate murder charges. All of the accused were charged with the shooting deaths of 4 men that happened hours apart last weekend. Jillian Gray has more.
Following a weekend of bloodshed, 4 men appeared in the magistrate's court where they were charged with murder. 28-year-old Mario Brown in the red jacket appeared before Magistrate Cara Turnquest and was charged with 1 count of murder. It is alleged that on Sunday, February 10th, Brown caused the death of 24-year-old Jamal Kemp, who was shot and killed on Potterski Dock. Brown's lawyer argued that there is a video that will show that Brown was not at the establishment where Kemp was killed. She told the court that while she does not question officers' investigations, she must present the information. Also charged before Magistrate Turnquest was 25-year-old Ricardo Mitchell in the blue shirt and 23-year-old Keno McKinsey in the white shirt. They were charged together on 2 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. It is alleged that on Sunday, February 10th, the pair being concerned together caused the death of Daniel Sterling and Ferdinand Angor. 54-year-old Angor was shot and killed while outside a business establishment on Robinson Road and Miami Street. It is also alleged that the pair attempted to murder Anwar Smith on February 3rd. Now, when Mitchell and McKinsey were brought out of the holding cell, a crowd of persons believed to be family of the accused cried and shouted. And the busy day in court ended with Turnquest charging 33-year-old Wallach Madurk in the black hoodie with 1 count of murder, 1 count of attempted murder, and 1 count of armed robbery. It is alleged that on Saturday, February 9th, he caused the death of 54-year-old Presentis Xavier, who was killed while attending a party in a Haitian community on Cowpen Road. It is further alleged that he robbed Sidney Armand of a Samsung cell phone valued at $200 and a wallet valued at $50, then attempted to kill him. All 4 men were remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections till April 12th, when they will return to court for the presentation of a VBI. Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
Thanks, Jillian. Well, it's a problem occurring more frequently here in the capital. People waking up to find their propane tank outside their home gone. And it's reportedly all being fueled by an underground market where these tanks are in demand.
We put this cable here.
This is pretty thick.
We put the cable here, and so they cut the cable.
This Friday.
This is the cable that they cut on Friday to take the tank.
Makiva Wallace says this is the 3rd time she's had to purchase a 100-pound propane gas tank after the first 2 were stolen from her home. She said it all stemmed from her decision to make breakfast Friday morning.
And I hear click, click, click on the stove. Click, click, click. I say, I can't be out of gas already because I just filled my tank. I walk outside, no gas tank. Walk to the back of the yard.
Another hole in the
fence. There's another hole in the fence, wide as this, and they just come right through here.
But you have neighbors. I mean, I know that's a lot of grass and
well,
open
this is an open lot here, but the problem is that this goes all the way out to the main Fire Trail Road.
And Wallace's fence has another hole in it from a previous gas tank theft that happened last year. Now, she and her husband have stepped up their game to secure their gas tank with chains in hopes that this would work.
Well, I'm hoping so. I mean, now it's noisy, so I don't know if they come in the middle of the night, if they come in broad daylight. You know, it's scary to think that people are coming in your yard when you are in your house sleeping and taking things from you. Your hard-earned money is just going right out the back gate.
But their situation is not isolated. More and more Bahamians have been reporting stolen propane gas tanks. The wire cut whenever they discover it's gone. Anthony Knowles, the financial controller for Island Gases along Fire Trail Road, said this sort of crime has occurred more frequently as of late.
For us, it happens way more than we hope that it would happen. And so I think we all recognize as a country that this is an issue.
So exactly what do you do to prevent waking up one morning only to discover your gas tank is gone? Knowles has 2 suggestions.
Really and truly, my suggestion is that people get bigger tanks. It reduces the amount of the frequency that you run out of gas, and it's too heavy for someone to run away with.
Knowles also recommends securing it on a base on the ground as well as lock and chain. But why are people stealing these gas tanks to begin with?
We don't have a return tanks program, right? So people are stealing them to resell them. All right, so we have an issue where people are buying tanks from people who are not registered tank dealers, which is extremely dangerous.
Still to come on our news, the Foreign Affairs Minister pushing for harsher penalties for boat captains. Plus, the BPSU president responds to comments about right-sizing in the public sector. Stay tuned.